Have you ever been wronged so badly that you stayed awake at night imagining the perfect payback? You're not alone. Studies show over 60% of people admit to fantasizing about revenge. And today, we're going to dive deep into some of the most jaw-dropping revenge stories you'll ever hear. Revenge has been at the heart of some of history's most dramatic moments, from kings waging wars to friends plotting elaborate pranks. Movies glorify it, books romanticize it, and Reddit is full of real-life tales that will leave you stunned. Today, we're exploring why revenge is so satisfying and so dangerous.
Revenge usually starts small. Someone cheats, lies, betrays, or humiliates someone else. That anger brews, and suddenly, a choice appears: let it go or strike back. Most of us want closure, but revenge offers something different: control, justice, and sometimes chaos. We'll look at different scenarios. Workplace betrayal, like when a coworker takes credit for your project. Romantic betrayal, which is probably the most common and most explosive. Family feuds that last for decades. Online drama, where people get exposed publicly. And we'll dig into what happens when people choose revenge over forgiveness.
Before we begin, subscribe. It's free and it makes you objectively a better person. Facts. Now let's dive into the first one. This story comes from a guy named Dan, a quiet, hard-working developer who nearly got his career stolen right out from under him. Dan had been working for a mid-sized tech company for 3 years. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't the loudest in the room, but he got stuff done. When the company landed a huge client, Dan was chosen to lead a critical project. The deadline was brutal, and for months he was in survival mode. Late nights, cold takeout, and countless coffee refills. He missed birthdays, skipped weekends, even spent 2 nights on the office couch. You know that feeling when you're running on fumes but you can't stop? That was Dan. Finally, the project launched. The numbers were great, way above what the company expected. Dan could breathe again. A few days later, there was a big all-hands meeting. The team gathered in the conference room, laptops open, coffee cups everywhere. Dan sat near the back, exhausted but proud. The boss walked in with a big smile. "I just want to take a moment to recognize the incredible work that went into this project," he said, "and I think we all know who really drove this across the finish line." Dan straightened up a little. "Let's all give a big hand to Greg." Applause filled the room. Greg, a guy who had contributed very little beyond a few late Slack messages, stood up and grinned like he just won Employee of the Year. Dan sat frozen. He didn't say my name, not once. After the meeting, Dan confronted the boss privately. "Hey, I don't want to make this awkward, but you know I led that project, right?" The boss waved him off. "Dan, you did good work, but Greg really stepped up when it mattered. You'll get your turn." Dan walked back to his desk in silence. And that's when something in him snapped. I realized right then I was either going to stay invisible forever or I was going to make them see me. For the next few weeks, Dan worked quietly, but not on the company's projects. He started compiling evidence. Every late-night commit he made to the codebase, every email where he solved problems Greg never touched, Slack messages where the boss praised him privately but took credit publicly. He put everything in a neatly organized folder, time-stamped, documented, undeniable. And then he waited for the perfect moment. The opportunity came at the next quarterly review meeting, the one where the higher-ups sat in. When it was time to present project outcomes, Dan raised his hand. "Could I do a quick walkthrough of how we achieved the results, just so we have a reference for next time?" The boss hesitated, but agreed. Dan plugged in his laptop, and instead of just showing charts, he pulled up a full timeline. The night he solved a critical bug at 2:43 a.m., the weekend he stayed in the office to meet a deadline, the feature commits with his name attached. Then, without raising his voice, he said, "And here are Greg's contributions, which were helpful, but not what I'd call project leadership." He clicked to the next slide, which had Greg's name on exactly 3 small tasks. The room went dead silent. HR was there, the director of engineering was there, everyone could see the truth. Greg turned red. The boss tried to cut in. "Okay, that's enough, Dan." But Dan kept going. I just thought it was important for the leadership team to see who's actually doing the work around here. When the meeting ended, nobody said anything. People avoided eye contact as they filed out. 2 days later, Dan got called into HR. Instead of being in trouble, they told him they were impressed by his documentation. A month later, Greg was quietly reassigned to a different team. The boss was moved to a less critical department. Dan, he got promoted, a raise, and a seat at the table for future planning meetings. This wasn't just revenge, this was a masterclass in quiet, calculated justice. Dan didn't yell, he didn't quit in anger, he let the receipts speak for themselves. Would you have done the same thing? Or would you have just walked away and found another job? Drop a comment, I really want to know how you'd handle this.
Now let's get into the second story. If you are still watching till this moment, like and subscribe for good luck. Also, tell me where you are watching from in the comments. Before I start, this one is brutal, and honestly, it might be my favorite just because of how calmly it was executed. Sarah and Tom had been together for almost 4 years. They lived together, shared a joint account, even talked about getting married. On the outside, everything looks perfect. But Sarah started noticing little things. Tom was coming home later and later, always claiming work ran long. He guarded his phone like it was a top-secret briefcase. One night, Sarah's gut told her something wasn't right. While Tom was in the shower, she grabbed his phone, hands shaking, and unlocked it. What she found made her stomach drop. There were dozens of messages with another woman, not just flirty texts. They were making plans. Dinner reservations, weekend trips. There were even I love yous. Sarah sat there on the couch, the sound of the shower running in the background, reading every message. By the time Tom came out, she had put the phone back exactly where it was and acted completely normal. That night, she didn't cry, she didn't scream, she didn't throw his stuff out the window like in the movies. Instead, she opened her laptop and made a plan. Step 1. Quietly transfer her half of their joint savings into her personal account. Legal, clean, no drama. Step 2. Start moving her clothes and essentials a little at a time while Tom was at work. Step 3. Gather every screenshot, every text message, every receipt. For a whole week, Sarah acted like nothing was wrong. She laughed at Tom's jokes, cooked dinner with him, even kissed him goodbye in the mornings. But every day, another bag went into her car, another screenshot went into her folder. Finally, on a Thursday, when she knew Tom would be working late, she moved the last of her things out. She cleaned the apartment, left her key on the counter, and taped a manila envelope to the wall. Inside, printed screenshots of every message, a short letter. I know everything. I'm done. Don't contact me. When Tom came home, the apartment was half empty. His first thought was that they'd been robbed. Then he saw the envelope. He ripped it open, saw the screenshots, and sat down on the floor. That's when it hit him. She had been planning this for days. He called her. Blocked. He texted her. Blocked. He emailed her. No reply. 3 months later, Sarah posted a picture on Instagram. She was sitting on a beach in Greece, drink in hand, captioned, "New chapter." The photo went viral among their mutual friends. Comments flooded in. "Queen behavior. This is how you leave. Tom is crying in the club right now." And yes, Tom saw it. Mutual friends confirmed it. This wasn't just leaving. This was a masterclass in silent revenge. Sarah didn't scream. She didn't beg. She didn't give him the satisfaction of a fight. She just vanished. And that silence was louder than any argument she could have had. What do you think about this approach? Is this the ultimate power move, or would you rather confront them face to face? Personally, I think this is genius, but some people would say you need that confrontation for closure. Drop a comment and let me know what you do.
Now let's get into the third story. If you're still watching till this moment, like and subscribe. It took days producing this video. It would mean a whole lot for us. Also, tell me where you are watching from in the comments. This one gets messy, because when family and money mix, things can get ugly fast. After their grandfather passed away, the family gathered for the will reading. There was a lot at stake: several acres of land, a house, and some investments. Everyone expected it to be split fairly between the siblings, but when the lawyer opened the will, the distribution was strange. Almost everything went to the oldest brother, James. The other siblings sat there, stunned.
One of them, we'll call her Lily, spoke up. "That can't be right. Grandpa always said we'd each get a share." The lawyer shrugged. "This is what was submitted, signed and notarized." James just sat there, smiling politely. After the meeting, Lily confronted him. "You knew about this?" James didn't deny it. "Grandpa trusted me to take care of things. It's better this way." "Better for who?" Lily went home furious. Weeks passed. James started making plans to sell the property. He even bragged at a family dinner about what he'd buy with the money. Lily decided enough was enough. She got a lawyer, quietly, without telling anyone. Together they started digging through records. That's when they found it. The signature on the will was suspiciously shaky. The notary stamp was dated a day after their grandfather had been hospitalized and heavily sedated. In other words, it looked like James had manipulated things, maybe even pressured Grandpa into signing something he didn't fully understand. Lily and her lawyer built a case. It took nearly 2 years gathering medical records, financial statements, witness testimony from neighbors who said Grandpa complained about James trying to take control. Finally, they filed a lawsuit challenging the will. James was furious. "You're tearing this family apart," he shouted over the phone. But Lily didn't back down. The court battle dragged on for months. It got ugly. Family members were forced to pick sides. Holidays were tense. But then came the verdict. The court ruled that the will had been signed under undue influence. The property and assets were split evenly among the siblings, exactly what Grandpa had originally said he wanted. And here's the kicker. Because James had already sold off part of the land and spent the money, he was legally required to pay his siblings back. He had to sell his own house to cover the damages. When the dust settled, the family was never the same. Some siblings still don't speak to James. But Lily? She said she had no regrets. She told a friend, "I didn't do this to hurt him. I did this to make sure Grandpa's wishes were respected." This one hits hard because revenge and justice get blurry. Lily won, legally, financially, but she also lost her relationship with her brother. Would you have done what she did? Or would you have just let James keep everything to avoid drama? Personally, I think this was the right move. But tell me what you think. Would you risk splitting your family apart for fairness?
Now let us dive into the next one. This one feels like something straight out of a movie, except it happened online and thousands of people got front row seats. Alex had donated $50 to what he thought was a legitimate online charity helping families recover after a natural disaster. The website looked professional, the photos looked real, and the testimonials were convincing. But weeks went by, and Alex noticed something odd. The charity's social media accounts were all stock images and generic posts. No updates from the families they claimed to help. Then Alex found out that one of the photos on their site was ripped straight from a Google image search. That's when he realized this wasn't a charity, it was a scam. Instead of just reporting the site and moving on, Alex got curious. He started digging. He traced the domain registration, found the name of the supposed founder, found the fake founder's personal Instagram account full of pictures of him partying with expensive champagne, and then Alex got angry. For weeks, Alex built a digital folder with everything he could find. Screenshots of the scam website, bank receipts showing where the donations were going, messages from other donors who never saw any proof their money was used for charity. When he was done, he turned it into a 20-page Google Doc, complete with timelines, evidence, and links. Then he went public. Alex posted the document to Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook with the headline, "This charity is a scam. Here's all the proof." Within hours, the post blew up. Thousands of people started sharing it. Other victims added their own screenshots in the comments. The hashtag #ExposeCharityName started trending.
The scammer tried to defend himself, but it only made things worse. Someone found an old video of him bragging about easy money from gullible donors. It went viral. Sponsors dropped him, the website was taken offline, local news stations picked up the story, and even ran an interview with Alex about how he uncovered the scam. 2 weeks later, the scammer posted a shaky video apology. "I just want to say I'm sorry to anyone I hurt. I'll be refunding the donations. I've learned my lesson." The comment section was brutal. People didn't hold back. One person wrote, "You weren't sorry until you got caught." Another said, "Alex, you are a hero." In the end, Alex didn't just get his $50 back, he shut down an entire fraudulent operation. But here's the wild part. After it was all over, he said he didn't feel good about it. He wrote, "It wasn't fun. I wasn't doing it for revenge. I just didn't want anyone else to get scammed. But when I saw the guy's life collapse online, it made me think maybe this was too far." This is the tricky thing about internet revenge. Once it's out there, it's out of your control. It can snowball fast, and suddenly you're not just exposing someone, you're ruining their life. Was Alex a hero for shutting this down, or did he go too far? Would you have done the same thing? Let me know in the comments.
For this last story, we're stepping back in time to one of the most legendary revenge tales ever told. This one is so good it inspired books, movies, and even TV shows. It's the story of Edmond Dantes, better known as the Count of Monte Cristo. Edmond was a young sailor with everything going for him. He had a promising career, loyal friends, and he was engaged to the love of his life, Mercedes. But not everyone was happy for him. A jealous rival named Fernand also loved Mercedes, and he couldn't stand to see her with Edmond. So Fernand, along with 2 other conspirators, plotted to destroy him. They accused Edmond of treason, forging a letter that made it look like he was secretly working with Napoleon's supporters. Edmond was arrested on the day of his engagement party. He tried to explain, begged for a chance to prove his innocence, but it didn't matter. The prosecutor, who had his own secrets to hide, saw Edmond as a threat. Without a trial, Edmond was thrown into the Château d'If, a notorious prison on a remote island. He was just 19 years old. For the first few years, Edmond was crushed. He lost hope, lost track of time. He thought Mercedes had forgotten him. But then he met another prisoner, Abbé Faria, a wise old man who had been locked away for decades. Faria taught Edmond everything he knew: languages, history, philosophy, even sword fighting. Most importantly, he told Edmond about a hidden treasure on the island of Monte Cristo. When Faria died, Edmond used the opportunity to escape, hiding in a burial sack and getting thrown into the sea. When Edmond washed up on shore, he was a changed man. He found the treasure, became incredibly wealthy, and reinvented himself as the Count of Monte Cristo, a mysterious, powerful figure. Then he set his plan in motion. Over the next several years, Edmond systematically destroyed everyone who betrayed him. Fernand, who had stolen Mercedes and built a career on lies, was exposed for treachery and lost everything: his fortune, his honor, his family. Danglars, who plotted against Edmond for his own profit, was financially ruined. Villefort, the corrupt prosecutor, had all his crimes brought to light and went mad. Each revenge was slow, calculated, and perfectly executed. But here's the twist. By the end of his quest, Edmond wasn't the same man anymore. Yes, he got justice. Yes, he exposed every betrayal. But he also realized that living for revenge had consumed him. He almost lost his chance at happiness because he was so focused on payback. In the final chapters, Edmond lets go of his vengeance, gives up some of his fortune, and chooses to start fresh with a woman who truly loves him.
This is why the story still resonates after almost 200 years, because it asks the big question: how far are you willing to go for revenge? Edmund had everything taken from him, and when he finally got the power to destroy those who wronged him, he did it brilliantly, but at a cost. Would you have done the same thing? Or would you have walked away once you escaped that prison? Revenge can give you justice, but sometimes it can also trap you just as much as the original betrayal did.
After hearing all these stories, there's a pattern. Revenge feels good in the moment, but it almost always leaves behind some kind of damage. Relationships end, jobs are lost, people change. But sometimes, revenge is the wake-up call the other person needed. Sometimes it's the only way to get justice when everything else fails. Think about your own life. Are there grudges you're still holding? Are they worth carrying around? We've seen how revenge can be clever, brutal, even satisfying, but also messy and dangerous. Whether you believe in karma or taking matters into your own hands, the lesson is clear. Revenge might give you closure, but it always comes at a price. I want to hear from you. What's your take on revenge? Is it ever truly worth it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me your craziest revenge story. And don't forget to subscribe because we have even wilder stories coming next week.